you backwards. Very good. Okay. Yeah.
And we're going live now on YouTube as well for people tuning in. We have about 40 participants over already logged in. So
are we live yet?
Yeah, we're live. We are live.
Oh, we better watch what
but this also goes to the participants who might be listening in. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to have a little bit of an informal kind of mood. So if you want to get a drink, sit back, relax, enjoy the show, go ahead and do so.
Are we live yet?
Yeah, we're live. We are live.
Oh, we better watch Cave.
Sorry, no, that was the YouTube feedback. So we're also on YouTube live now.
So are we waiting for the rest of the speakers?
That's right. That's right. If you want to turn off your camera, just do something else for a few minutes. That's absolutely fine.
Okay, so I've got about 10 minutes till. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. And Mandy will start speaking first, and then Winnie. So you have some time.
Very good.
Or you
Very
really
good.
Start. Yeah.
Okay. Also, when we're done speaking our little turn, do you want us to stay on video?
Yeah, I think so. For you main panelists.
Yep. Very good. Very good. Okay. All right. I'm going to jump off a video here real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. See that too.
There we go.
Hello, Darryl. Can you hear us? Oh, you're muted now, it seems, which is fine. Just making sure that the technology works.
I just muted myself for the time being.
Ah, okay. You look loud and clear, and okay, fantastic. So we start in about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, so we're still waiting for Professor Mandy. Okay, I saw an attendee raising their hand. That's very good. It allows me to explain a little bit more. So for the Q&A, which comes a bit later, you're encouraged to click raise hand, and then Winnie, the moderator, will upgrade you as a panelist. And then with video, you can make your comments or ask a question. All right, somebody says that they cannot see their video or their own video. If you are a regular participant, you can't see the video. Only if you're a panelist, you can see the video. So that's just a technical issue there. So at the end, we hope to see all of your videos when we do a little bit of a social gathering. But for the time being, yeah, unfortunately, we remain anonymous a little bit. Okay, I see Mary coming in. Mary, Professor Mary? Yes, okay, very clear. And your sound seems all right as well?
I speak. Is that clear enough?
Yeah, loud and clear, great.
Good.
Okay, no problems there. Okay, we are just waiting a few more minutes and then we'll get started. So if you want to remain anonymous for a little bit longer, you can turn off your video or do something else and relax. All right, counting down. In about 4 minutes or so, we should get started. Okay, great. Somebody raised their hand. I won't quite upgrade you to a panelist just now, but very good. You found the button. So a bit later, we will hopefully hear a question or a comment from you. A few more hands raised. Yes, this is the time to just test that. Make sure that you found the button. Very good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 9 p.m. in Hong Kong, Singapore, China, lots of places and slightly different hours in other time zones, which means it's showtime for the Fireside Chat. Starting us off this evening is Miss Mandy Mock, the CEO and founder of Applied HE. Go ahead, Mandy.
Right, let me share the screen. Okay. Sorry, I made a little boo-boo here. Give me a
All right, while Mandy is taking care of the technical stuff, a bit later when we have the panel discussion, you can press the button raise hand if you want to ask a question. And then you'll be upgraded to the panel and you can ask your question via video. So that's how it works. And here goes Mandy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to session 2 of the Applied Eej Fireside Chat. My name is Mandy Mock, and I'm the founder and CEO of Applied Eej. Applied Eej is the new kid on the block as a service provider for the international higher education sector. We specialize in evaluation and branding and professional networking solutions. I started Applied Eej in January this year after working for QS for 17 years. So thank you very much for joining our session 2 of the Applied Eej Fireside Chat webinar series. This is the second of a total of 6 webinars, which will run until the end of the year. In case you missed session 1, not to worry, a recording is available on our website. Today's Fireside Chat, Mass Online Learning, Strategies to Raise Quality and Satisfaction on a Limited Budget, is led by Mrs. Winnie Ely, partner at Education Insight Hong Kong, UK, and a veteran higher education leader with leadership experience in Asia, Europe, Australia, and Africa. She will be guiding today's discussion with 4 outstanding speakers from different parts of the world, whom she will introduce shortly. Please allow me to also thank Indonesia's Universitas Hasanuddin for being the main sponsor of this series of 6 Applied Eej Fireside Chats. Universitas Hasanuddin is a leading research-driven comprehensive university located in Makassar, South Sulawesi province in Indonesia. Both Universitas Hasanuddin and the island of Sulawesi are true undiscovered gems, as UNHAS, as they're also known, is keen to explore further collaboration with international partners. I would also like to thank Education Insight as our co-hosting partner and all our amazing panelists who have agreed to join us for what promises to be a very exciting and insightful fireside chat. Now, without further ado, allow me to hand over to the very capable and always charming Mrs. Winnie Ely. Over to you, Winnie.
Thanks, Mandy. Hello and welcome to Applied Eej Fireside Chat. For delegates who joined us last month, welcome back. For delegates who joined us for the first time, a very warm welcome. If you haven't read the biographies of our speakers, I strongly encourage you to steal a few minutes later on to do so, if you haven't done so already. The Applied Eej Fireside Chat is held once a month. It brings to you a panel of knowledgeable and passionate speakers on topical issues. Today's topic is mass online learning, strategies to raise quality and satisfaction on a limited budget. The Applied Eej Fireside Chat is designed to be cozy, relaxed, engaging, and at the same time serious, fun, provocative, thought-provoking, and blue sky. Most important of all, we welcome a lively interaction between our speakers and participants. Many of you have posted your questions when you registered. Some of you will have questions as you listen to our speakers. We will invite you to ask your questions once all our 4 panel speakers have addressed the topic. First of all, I'm going to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Dawn Occult, Global Consultant and Professor at Leadership and Open and Distance Learning. Dawn is a trailblazer on this particular topic, and his work is truly global, spanning from Africa, Asia, Australia, Europe, UK to USA. He's now based in Romania. Dawn, your 3 minutes start now. Thanks.
Don, you're muted. We need to unmute you.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Good, good. I think one of the main questions we're here to talk about today is global online, 100% online going to be a growth area for the future? I don't know the definitive answer to that. One of the ways I'm going to suggest we might talk about things today that will come up is what's known as the iron triangle. How do you balance access, quality, and cost? That's pretty much what we have to deal with when we're dealing with a lot of these different kinds of programs, taking them into new markets. Some realities that you're going to deal with is being online isn't going to differentiate you in the marketplace. Everybody's going to be online. If they're not now, they will be in the future. And I'm going to suggest to you that in the future, 100% online is going to be the new normal. That means you may choose not to do that, but your competitors will do that. Your students are customers. Don't like that language? Get over it. Students are buying higher education today just like they buy a car. They're shopping around and they know they can shop because there's more options for them than any other time in human history. So you have to figure out what's going to be your strategy to go online. What's your package? And what is your competitive advantage that differentiates you from your competitors? Mark Twain said, indeed, truth is stranger than fiction. Fiction has to make sense. Here's some truths that don't always make sense in higher education market. First, global growth in totally online delivery is actually very small. I'm not suggesting global delivery is small. I'm suggesting 100% online delivery is relatively small. I've got data if we want to talk about that later on. The 3 largest open universities in the world in 2020 are still offering their programs primarily via correspondence study. I think those are interesting kinds of things that we often don't think about. Quality, what do we say about quality? As a faculty member, I just want to say this. It takes a lot of work, an incredible amount of dedication. And if you think you can be a great online teacher by showing up on Friday for an hour, I think you better rethink that entire mantra because that's not going to happen. Finally, drawing upon that great British philosopher, Sir Mick Jagger, you can't always get what you want. And what I'm going to suggest to you right now may be the most important thing I have to share with you today. Diversify your funding sources. The mantra for open universities to scale up historically has been built on this mantra, and it's great and it works perfectly when you have a government that will fund you for every single student you can bring to the table. Those days are long gone. And so you need to think about where are your resources going to come for online and distance education. I'll close by saying, in the words of Henry L. Mencken, for every complex question, there's a simple solution, and it's wrong. What we're talking about today is very complex, and I'm looking forward to my colleagues as well as the participants having a stimulating and good conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Lots of food for thought and well within the 3 minutes. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Dr. Siti Hamad. I have to apologize. I've been practicing your name.
No worries. No worries.
Hamad?
Hamisa.
Hamisa, yes. Secretary General of Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation in Malaysia. Dr. Siti is highly recognized for her contribution in higher education and engineering. She's passionate about the social well-being brought by science, technology and innovation. Dr. Siti, the next 3 minutes is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Winnie. Hi, everyone. As we know, COVID-19 has forced higher education institutions to deliver their face-to-face classes to online classes, even though some of them may not be ready on providing online courses prior to COVID-19, let alone effective online learning that requires intensive planning and design. Besides national framework and quality assurance, I believe that raising quality and satisfaction online learning on a limited budget can be obtained through a few strategies. Among them is enhancing the instructional design so that learning experience of the learners can be improved by assessing the need of the learners first, then their progress and effectiveness of the delivery. This can be done through leveraging on technologies. It can be looked into type of technology that can be open source options, yeah, or other than that, it'll be based on probably private development. The technologies that I am talking about is big data and artificial intelligence, because big data can extract information and that will help to predict the learning patterns and the progress of the learners. Besides artificial intelligence, we can use technologies such as augmented reality and also virtual learning. Augmented reality will help students to have access to experience things that they can use using smart devices. As for virtual reality, students can have access to immersive learning, where they can experience, that will be experiential learning that they can obtain. As you know, the most important part is assessment, and assessment can be quite challenging when it's online. There are universities that are quite fully online now, but there are still parents who wants to send their kids to face-to-face classes because they are paying tuition fees. So these are the challenges that we face that we need to address, I believe. The other part is on the retention rate of online learning. As we know, about 96% of drop rate of online learning. So these are the challenges. I suppose it can be done on a limited budget, but it'll be more of open source option, I believe. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dr. Siti. Our next speaker is Professor Mary Stiassny, Pro-Vice Chancellor International and Chief Executive of University of London Worldwide. She's going to speak next. Throughout her career, Professor Stiassny, OBE, has worked to both deliver and promote quality, accessible education across the world. Let's listen to Mary now. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm going to talk about our experience from the University of London, its distance and flexible learning programs. And I'm going to highlight the importance, as it seems to me, of adaptability and readiness to change, the need to be flexible. So our programs have been operating for more than 160 years. Originally, students studying all over the world would get a syllabus, a list of topics to study, and they just got on with it, taking their exams usually in London, until in 1865, a college principal in Mauritius campaigned to get the Senate of the university to provide exams in situ in Mauritius. And the exam papers were shipped over on steamships from London. The students took the exams in Mauritius. The exam scripts were then shipped back to London and marked there. That practice has continued until this year, not using steamships, of course, but using aeroplanes. I'll come back to this year later. The next stage moved on. It moved on to what was effectively sending them a correspondence course. A bit later, the university adapted again and sent students a box of books and a syllabus. And then gradually we adapted and developed into an online provider. And now we have 50,000 students all over the world in 180 countries, following over 100 programs at undergraduate and postgraduate levels. And then in addition, there are 1.5 million students following our MOOCs, massive open online courses, on the platform provided by Coursera. And throughout, we've been committed to maintaining the academic standards of our programs and to serving the needs of our students and providing access to students who wouldn't otherwise be able to access degrees. To this end, we've striven all the time to keep modernizing our provision through a program of regular renewal and revision. And high quality pedagogic program development is at the heart of what we provide. We seek to review and revise the resources that we provide for our students, and we're looking at all times for new ways of supporting the student body. So we have a quality schedule, we have to meet the requirements of the UK Quality Assurance Agency, and we have our own inbuilt review processes. And this has driven our work from the start. And clearly, the provision for the student in 2020 is light years away from the provision which the students studying in 1920 or even 1870 encountered, but we keep to the standards and principles which have driven us from the start. But over the years, we have attempted and we've maintained this wish to be adaptable and to change things when necessary. We don't have vast resources. We do have to be mindful of the need to keep to our budgets, unlike some of the commercial providers, but we have managed to transform the ways we work. And over the last 50 years, we've worked more and more with a range of teaching centres. So the undergraduate, usually undergraduate, sometimes postgraduate, who wishes to have the support and community of attending an institution can access additional tuition from that centre. But some students study entirely as independent students. So we're introducing student support managers to give those independent students pastoral support. As our pedagogy becomes more innovative and provides appropriate developmental learning support for the students, and the digital library provides students with the books that they don't anymore get in a box, shipped overseas, we also introduced group learning. And for some of our postgraduates, there are group exercises for students to meet the challenge of not only working together, but working online to learn from and with their peers. And then we became aware that for many students, there was a challenge to getting started with their studies. So we introduced online induction modules, study skills programs, quizzes. We have a VLE, which provides support for the learning process, as well as to support the total student experience. And recently we've introduced student interest groups, whether it be reading groups or cooking groups. The well-being of our students has become a matter of concern because now mental health is more openly and constructively shared and discussed across society as a whole. And we have a 24-hour mental health support program, which any student can access from anywhere in the world. And all our students are much more concerned with employability. So we've built an employability capsule module. All of this, of course, was interrupted by COVID. So let's come back to those exams that used to be shipped across and then were flown across. Now we've had to go completely online. And suddenly in March, we took the decision, as we saw exam centres where the exams were always taken, exam centres gradually closing, we decided to go completely online with our assessment, and thereby stands yet another story, but I'll stop there. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, Mary. I know it's difficult to capture 160 years of distance learning and online learning in 3 minutes. You've done brilliantly. Last but not least, Professor Darryl Evans, founder of Global Derby. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yeah.
Professor Evans is a former Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic and Pro-Vice Chancellor Learning and Teaching with an academic background as a professor in anatomy. Professor Evans is passionate about transformative power of education and is promised for future generations. Darryl, the screen is all yours in the next 3 minutes.
Thanks very much, Winnie, and it's great to be with you and other panelists and all the participants as well. And so good evening from Australia, where it's about 11:20 in the evening. So I'll try and keep my spirits up and try and keep everyone enthused. So I was going to talk really, again, a bit from the COVID-19 experience and this massive quick shift that we've had to what I've called emergency remote learning, which is becoming part of the literature now. It's been exciting to perhaps be with students and other colleagues, seeing inside their houses, meeting their pets and kids by accident perhaps. But what's been really great is a lot of educators have really shifted. Lots of effort's gone into what they've been doing. They've become very creative. They've learned lots. I hope students have learned lots as well. But there's some cautions to worry about as well. And my biggest caution is that some university leaders particularly think that the job's done, that they've got this false sense of security that now their university really does do online learning. And I think we have to question that and just be very, very careful, because those that have been doing online learning for a number of years, as Don pointed out, takes a lot of work, takes a lot of time to get it to the right quality and to engage students appropriately. So is the online that's been produced so far of the best quality? We really need to evaluate that. People are saying that students have been actually quite satisfied with what's been produced. Well, I'd question perhaps whether that satisfaction's been more temporary. And that's because students have been tolerant of the COVID-19 situation themselves. But we've already seen reports of people asking for their fees to be refunded or at least part funded. And we're seeing the students are starting to see what else is available. So they're seeing the quality that is delivered by some different partners and some different offerers. And so when we think about online going forward, we really need to be deliberate in our thinking about the design that we want to have. And the question that I would be asking is around, do we actually design for online? And I don't think we do in a lot of cases, unless you really are into online learning. I think we go to conversion of face-to-face. And I think that's where some of the problems lie for us. That actually some things just simply don't work online. And if you're typically used to doing it in face-to-face, you might not understand that. So I think to make sure that the quality really does get to the right level and we do enable real good satisfaction from our students, I think we need to use some sort of principles framework. And what does that look like? It may be about, well, how do we get students to interact appropriately? Are we producing what is going to be really accessible for students? Do we support our students appropriately, as Mary has talked about for her students? Do we really use technology appropriately? But more importantly than anything else, do we really engage our students? And some of that's quite difficult if you are on a limited budget. But I don't think actually sometimes we think about building on what we already have, and that actually we share with colleagues much more about what we've got, what is available externally. And I think something that's really, really key going forward is think about reusable. Think about the way that we can design something that can be used in a number of different ways. And hopefully that means things can be achieved a little bit more easily, efficiently and effectively. But what I would say whenever moving to scale is keeping it simple, keeping it fresh and clean and crisp, and really effectively thinking about engagement of our students is really going to be the key. So I look forward to the rest of the discussion. So back to you, Winnie.
Thank you very much, Darryl. Lots of food for thoughts just in the first 20 minutes, and I have to applaud all the speakers. They are all within the time limit, so thank you very much. That leaves a lot of time for the participants to interact with you. But before I open the interaction between panelists and participants, I'm going to open the floor between our panelists first for any comment, observation, or if you want to ask your fellow speaker a question.
I was perhaps going to ask Mary if I could.
Sorry, absolutely, go for it.
Mary, I think you just obviously got a lot of experience there. Have you received a lot of information back from the students during the COVID period that has enabled you to make the changes that you've talked about? So has it been driven somewhat from the student perspective as well as obviously your great colleagues that you have?
So for us, the key driver was the anxiety students had about whether they would be able to complete their degrees, take their exams and finish, or complete the exams and move on to the next stage. Because bear in mind, all our exams were taken in exams halls on a piece of paper with a pen. And they were really anxious as they saw the exam halls closing around them, whether they would be able to complete. So we were able to work. We have what's called a student voice group where we have student representatives, and we involve them at every stage of developing the sorts of exams. And we have 3 different models of exams. We developed those in collaboration with and under consultation with the student voice group. And that was incredibly useful. It was important to us to have their input and their guidance, and absolutely invaluable.
Thanks.
Any other observations, queries, comments before we open the floor? You're all ready? Right, okay. So we're now going to Don.
I just wanted to say that we did a lot of studies and research here in Europe on what's been learned from the COVID-19. And I think we need to be very clear here. You know, we put these people in almost a mission impossible kind of situation. We sent teachers out to teach online, and that was the only option available. And, you know, they had no training. Their leadership was not very good in terms of supporting them. And I'm talking about K-12 up through university, okay? I'm not speaking about individual institutions. I think one of the things that's going to be really important, and this sort of follows Darryl and follows Mary, is there's a feeling out there right now that the brave new world is finally here. Well, in my career, the brave new world's been here 4 times before. And I know all of us on the panel are under 30, but nonetheless, I think the big decision is coming now. I think organizations have to decide, wow, do we scale up for online, or do we scale up a little bit? I think it's going to be a really critical question for higher ed, less so for K-12, because K-12 isn't a competitive market in the same ways that higher education is. So I think K-12, we will see emergency response postures more so than maybe high schools going totally online. But I think leaders at universities, as Mary was referring there in her comments, you know, what's next? What level do we scale up to, and where do we set that top at? One of the things I wanted to comment about the University of London, and I don't know if this is true or not, but my observation would be is you've got some good leadership there that says we've got to manage what we have and keep quality and keep those attributes and values that have always been historically important to this institution, and scale is not going to drive us away from those. And so I think it's really an interesting time now in terms of what do institutions do next. Anyway, stop there.
Winnie, if I may.
Of course, Dr. City.
Yeah, I just want to expand on what Darryl said. Not all programs can be online 100%. For example, medical degree, engineering degree, where we need the skill, even though we have virtual reality, augmented reality, but to a certain extent, we need that real skill training that they need to accumulate over a number of years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I do have one question to Darryl in terms of sharing and the reusable. It sounds fantastic, but in your experience, how easy is it to do?
Oh, a lot of educators hate it. And I think it becomes part of, I think a lot of them are great researchers, and of course they have to be fairly protective sometimes of what they do in research, but they're actually much more collaborative when it comes to research. A lot of educators and teachers are perhaps with their students within closed doors and are unsure about sharing. They don't want other people to look at what they're doing and with their students. And we have to give them, I think, that encouragement that it's okay. It's also okay to make mistakes, because otherwise if they're not going to be creative, they're not going to think differently. And I think we really need to encourage that. But I think, again, I would agree with Don that it's about university leadership then, is actually demonstrating that actually sharing is good. Sharing between institutions is good. And that's the only actually way we're going to drive innovation, creativity appropriately. And I also completely understand what Dr. City said around certain courses not ever being fully online. But what I think online has enabled us to think is challenge differently. It's getting people to really challenge about what they can do online. Hopefully that will allow people to think much more about their face-to-face experiences, and then the drive with technology and everything else that comes along with that. My default now is design for online and convert to face-to-face rather than the other way around.
Very different. Of course, Darryl.
So the thing I would say, Don was talking about people jumping too fast. I think one of the things I would say is to echo Darryl, that you have to build on what you already have. You can't just throw everything out and start completely again. You have to build on what you have and what's good. But the other thing I would say, Don, from coming back to what you said, is that it's all very well, but we need to think about what students want as well. It's all very well thinking about what we want and what we want to do and what we want to achieve, but we have to have in mind the needs of the students and actually the wishes of the students. And that,
like I said, they're customers. They're gonna shop around until they find, you know, we'll have students, those that will always go to Oxbridge and Harvard and the University of Sydney's and that, but the majority of the students are going to be looking at the market very carefully. And boy, we always forget the students, don't we?
Part of what we do.
Yeah, that's right. I agree.
Right, that is fantastic. What we're going to do is we're going to open it up to everyone. In this fireside chat at the moment, we have more than 100 participants in this room, the Zoom room. So I'm going to invite, first of all, I'm going to do this, right. I'm just going to into control room so that I actually be the host. I am, okay. And what we're going to do is, if you wish to speak or ask a question, please raise your hand so I can actually unmute your microphone. First of all, if you can introduce yourself, tell us where you are from, and ask your question or make your comments on observation using no more than 5 sentences, so we can actually open the floor up to as many people as possible. So we have one hand here. So don't be shy, go for it. Right. Judith. I have just promoted you, so no, he wouldn't let me promote you. So Judith, go for it. I have unmuted your microphone.
Great. Thank you very much. That was a really stimulating first 20 minutes or so. I've got a couple of questions, if I might sneak two in, and I'll put them in the comments as well, just to be a little bit provocative too. First one is about this brave new world and about all the changes that are taking place because of COVID. And I remember when the OU started in whenever it was, many years ago, and we were all watching programs on the television about 4 in the morning, learning how to do plumbing and things like that. And there was a lot of worry at that time that teachers were going to be replaced by robots and human beings weren't going to be needed anymore. Clearly this didn't take place, and personally I don't think it's going to take place now either with online. Some countries have embraced online that didn't embrace it before. In fact, out and out weren't keen on it at all. They've done that out of necessity, probably financial. I think they'll revert straight back once they don't have to do that. That's my first point. And my second one, picking up on Darryl's point around sharing, couldn't agree more, absolutely. I think it's vital. However, given the financial pressures, certainly some of the universities and colleges are under in the UK, we know that 13 are up against the wall at the moment. Is there simply too much pressure on them to keep themselves financially solvent rather than work with others to indeed collaborate? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Judith. I'm going to unmute you. So moving to Anand Rashid, I'm going to unmute you. And if you can unmute your microphone, you're on. Right, we don't have a response, so. I'm going to move on to.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can. Yeah. Go for it.
My name is Anand. I joined from Mumbai in India. I have a question for Don, sir. You said that institutions have to decide how much to scale up. I would like to know what are the factors that would help institutions decide that to scale up to online?
My own observations about scaling, again, is not the fact of scaling per se. I think the issue is about the rate of scaling. And when you scale too fast, your institution cannot keep up with student support services, training faculty quick enough to do it, infrastructure, those kinds of things. I'm an honorary professor at the University of South Africa. They're facing this issue right now. And what happens is in the initial part of scaling, they add students and the current staff says, oh, we can take care of that. That's not a problem. And we add 10 or 15 or 20,000 students. And then the pressure points start to impose upon the system. And the mantra for open universities historically has been, More students, lower cost, and we all live happily ever after. I said it earlier, if you're dependent on a funding source that will give you all the money you need, it's a really good model. When the model goes awry is when you don't have all the money you need. Then you have to look for other sources of revenue. And what I think happens is some institutions, it's like the roller coaster out of control. It just goes moving so fast that you're playing this catch-up game. And the side effects are low morale, workload issues that are just burning faculty out because you have scaled up so quickly with so many students. In 2010, does anyone know how many students the Open University UK had? 260,000. How many do they have today? 167,000. They scaled down, which I'm not saying is good or bad. In fact, I would probably suggest they scale down to a level where they can maintain quality, create some of the innovation that Mary and Darryl were also alluding to. And yes, it's created other kinds of issues, such as the introduction of fees a few years ago. Does that keep some of the students that the Open University was created to serve in the first place out of going to school? Well, it certainly places greater pressures on them, that's for sure. So back to your original question, I think the scaling issue gets out of control when there aren't resources outside of a singular source. I just think that kind of dependency, you're just waiting for a disaster to happen. Sunday morning, I woke up, and Darryl, you probably read the same article. University of New South Wales, cutting 500 positions, $370 million. What are the sources of their funding? I know what the sources of their funding are. The Australian government for about half of it. And the other half is from where? International students. International students were never going to go away. That was good forever. And I used to say to my Australian colleagues, 25% of your total higher education population is dependent upon foreign students. If they go away, what are you going to do? And I'm not being critical of Australia, Darryl. I'm just trying to use it as an example of when you are dependent on these things, you lose your autonomy, you lose your capacity to be creative and innovative, and it usually puts incredible pressures on your current staff and faculty. And so I think when we start talking about scaling, go slow. You don't have to reach 100,000 by the end of the week. Anyway, let me stop. Mary?
I think that's absolutely right. And I would want to say you have to have your horizons in sight. The danger comes when you can't see your horizon. Yeah, you've got to keep your framing within your grip, because otherwise it gets out of control. And in getting out of control, you lose what you're doing. And I think Darryl's point from earlier was absolutely critical. You have to have a principles framework. You have to know what you're doing, and you have to know the principles by which you're doing it, and you have to keep hold of them throughout. Otherwise, you lose control. And
also in your decision making. You have to have the capacity to look at a potential project or partnership and say, wow, that's really creative and innovative, but that doesn't fit with the mission and values of my university.
Absolutely.
Let it go on to somebody else. And that's very hard to do when you're in an environment where resources are shrinking and there's pressures to find revenue from all sources. I wasn't suggesting at all earlier that diversifying income streams for your university is easy. It's not. It's very, very complex and very difficult. Yeah. I don't want to forget our gentleman from Mumbai. Did we answer your question?
He's on mute, I think. So okay. Thank you. I think we'll move on to the next question. That is actually a very sort of substantial reply to the question. I'm sure he'll come back if he has any further questions. So we have Robin.
Before we move on though, could we come back to Judith Lammy?
Yes, we can.
Asked in fact, whether there's too much pressure for universities to keep themselves solvent. And I think that in some cases that might be the case. But I think that you were asking, Judith, about the principle of sharing and collaborating, and that's perhaps one salvation for some of those institutions. But we've got into the way, certainly in the UK, of being so individualistic that sometimes we lose sight of the possibility to share, because that might just...
I think that's spot on. That's absolutely spot on. That's exactly what I was thinking, Mary. You know, and I think that is going to be the big challenge. In many ways, the salvation of the 13, and I'm sure there are many, many more universities in the UK who have got severe financial pressures at the moment, would be collaboration, probably with their nearest and dearest in the cities in which they're based. But when it comes to it, their choice potentially will be, is it me as an institution that is going to suffer, or is it a different institution? And sometimes I think, you know, having probably the bravery to collaborate, you know, will possibly be a bit of a step too far for some, and it might take just a very, very brave senior management team to do that. But personally, I think that is probably the only way in which they'll survive. Yes. And
for us to be ready to share the lessons learned as well. Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
Sorry, Winnie.
Oh, absolutely, that's a very important discussion. Keep your hands up if you want to ask questions. We do have a lot of questions raised before, so I'm going to straight to the audience where I know they have raised a question. Janet Eliava, you in the room? I'm going to promote you to panelists to see if I'm successful or fail. So I'll invite you to talk. So Janet, you have a fantastic question, and if you don't mind asking it to the panel.
Oh, okay, and thank you everybody for the fantastic presentations, and it's really great to hear your thoughts and insights, most generous of you. I'm wondering, we're living in a very strange time, and there is this push towards online in the autumn semester, but we don't know, it may be even longer. But I also think what's happening is that the push towards online is normalizing something that wasn't quite the comfort zone for many institutions. And I wonder what would be your advice, or what are your thoughts on, is the pandemic normalizing something that wasn't normal before? And how do you think this would impact the future delivery of higher education? It's a question to everybody.
Panel speakers, just go for it. You can unmute your microphone because I can't see you raising your hand. So, who would like to take this question first? Do you think this is the new normal?
Let me try this, yeah?
Thanks, Eti.
Yeah, we are living in a strange year this year. Nothing is normal. For us in Malaysia, we are starting to open our universities beginning 15 July. And now we have classes that are conducted face-to-face, but we have our social distancing applied, and priority are given for online learning. Those who are coming back are those that have to do their skills training, like I mentioned earlier on, like medical, engineering, technology programs. But those that can be conducted online will be conducted online. I don't think there's any one right or wrong answer, but it is depending on how the situation of the pandemic. We foresee that this is going to impact us for the next almost 1 year, probably next year, until the vaccine has been tested and produced. For us, we are playing by the ear, basically. So I'm not sure whether that will give you what you would like to hear today. Thank you.
Perhaps I can add something as well, Winnie, to the discussion there. I think Judith brought up the point as well, is are we just going to return to the old normal? So is this a real change? And I think it's because we've got shifting sands right now. So I think people are not sure where things are traveling to and where perhaps their values take them back to, what Don was sort of expressing around the values of your institution. I think what we have to watch, though, is that there's going to be a whole flood of new providers coming in where international boundaries are not a problem to them. And if we are going to have to really answer the question of online, they can probably do it better than us, cheaper than us in some ways. So what is the value proposition left for the universities and the higher education? Well, actually, there are actually a lot of values within there. One is obviously our ability to provide degrees, etc., that others perhaps don't, and therefore the recognised certificates, etc. But I think there's the other element of we are actually the knowledge generators still. We are, if we're going to really move in the right frame, we become the real knowledge curators as well. There's lots of knowledge out there. We're the ones with the academic ability to be able to guide and support students in their learning appropriately. So it's about us actually stepping up to the plate, stepping up to the challenge appropriately, or others will come in and take some of our dinner away from us.
I would just add that I don't think it's going to be a new normal. I think it's going to be plural. It's going to be new normals. It's going to cut across sectors, and in each one of those sectors, because education doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists within political contexts, as we all well know right now. It exists within economic spheres, social and cultural. You know, one of the barriers historically to online global delivery has been language. Taking the English language and using it because, you know, teaching international students, even in a face-to-face context, when it's not their native language, sometimes is very challenging. You take that into the online environment, it becomes, I think, even a little bit more challenging. Not impossible, but again, it requires you to think very differently about how you're doing that. Mary knows a lot more about the current international scene than I do, but there's been a preference for branch campuses. But there's not that many branch campuses globally. There's about 230, serving about 200,000 students. So the majority market's still out there. One of the questions I would ask, I don't have an answer, but could we see a contraction into the regions? Meaning that within Asia, you start to see more activity going on there. I know people working in international now are wondering, you know, what's going to fall out in the international recruitment arena. I don't have an answer for it, but I certainly wonder, as I see Asian institutions move up in the rankings, or any other region for that matter, are there some viable reasons why a student might say, you know, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Trump don't seem to care about maybe even their own people. Why am I going to go there and study? You know, I mean, there's all these things are happening at the same time. So it's like trying to hit multiple targets. But I wonder about this regionalism. And then would we see online grow within regions where languages are more similar? You know, I don't know, but I think those are the kinds of scenarios we should explore to say, that's a possibility.
That's a very interesting thought, actually. I'm just wondering, I'm looking to City and Miriam, perhaps Darryl, I mean, an audience as well. I mean, anyone that would want to jump in here. That's a very interesting observation and a question, really, because things are happening in various regions at the moment. So, City, would you like to have a sort of go first?
We can see that the internationalization, the international students, for us, we have seen that they are going back to their countries. And there are quite a number of institutions that we see that are closing because they are not getting the number of students. What is the new normal will be something that, depending, like Don was saying, is the institution will need to identify what is it that they can offer to the students and the communities. I presume most of the private institutions will be suffering because of this new normal, but the public institutions, probably they'll be overburdened with the students more and more coming to the public institutions, because parents, based on what we see, parents are affected in terms of loss of jobs, the number of unemployment is increasing. One way or another is going to impact on the students' education as well.
Thank you. We do have 2 hands up, so if it's okay, I'm going to move on to Mary Jane, who has been very, very patient. So Mary Jane, can you hear me, and would you like to come in? I've already unmuted you.
Okay.
Mary.
Ayan. Okay, good evening. I'm from the Philippines, a teacher of junior high school, actually a part-timer in college as well. This is for Dr. Don Alcott. Yes, sir. While it is true that we are left with online learning as our option, obviously connectivity issue is really a big challenge in our country. We have no other choice but send self-learning modules to remote areas because we believe we cannot stop education. Learning must be continuous according to our Department of Education here. Good for you. You have this great connectivity. Your internet is really very fast. Like now, while I'm talking, there is already a warning that my connection is unstable. So I guess no, we cannot have this online as our only option. I think we really have to deal with what we have, what we can. It's actually the self-learning modules to be sent to our students in remote areas. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mary. Shall we move on to, we have more hands up now. So I'm going to move to Eej Diner, dude. Unmute you. Are you ready? Okay. I don't think she can hear me, so I'm going to move to another colleague's. Lester. Hi, Lester. Lester, you're on. Right. It's not happening.
Hello.
Oh, hello. Excellent.
Hello, BB panelists.
Sorry, this is Robbie.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening. Robbie, go for it.
I'm Robbie Poland from Mindanao, the island of Mindanao from Philippines. Hello, panelists. Good evening, sir and ma'am. Good evening. I am a teacher from the private school, private institution, teaching senior high school. I would like to share my experience, same with the speaker a while ago, what the speaker said a while ago.
I believe the connection was cut.
Yeah, I think we just lost Robbie. So what I'm going to do now is very quickly make sure that I am not the host. And then, oh, I can't. I don't know if I'll leave it for the HG team for the technical area. So we have five minutes left for the evening. Can I just say, this has been a really dense discussion in a very short period of time. So thanks to all our speakers for a wonderful sort of contribution and lively discussion with our participants. To close, we still have an opportunity for our speaker to make a final comment, if you wish, in less than 60 seconds each. So who would like to go first? So we go with Darryl first and then backwards. So Darryl, Mary, Datusiti, and then Don.
Okay, I'm happy to have a go at the less than 60 seconds approach. I think I would come back to exactly what Mary was talking about and Don mentioned as well, was about the student voice. And I think we have to remember that satisfaction of what we are producing depends on what the learner actually wants from the online course. And we have lots of different learners wanting very different things. It might be that you're just a part-timer and you want to do a course that interests you. You might be doing something to reskill or upskill. You might be wanting to do it for your first degree or your first qualification. So remember what you're trying to produce, but who are you producing it for? The student voice telling you is so important.
Mary?
So Darryl's stolen my line. I was going to say the student voice is absolutely critical, because that's why we're here. That's why we're doing what we're doing. And whether it is the 18-year-old or the 85-year-old, and we have them all, we have to be ready to provide what the student wants, as well as operate some of our own discretion, obviously. But, you know, if we don't do it, if we don't do what they want, they won't come. And if we don't do it properly, they won't come. So we have to have that in mind. I think it comes back to Don's point. They are, after all, our customers. And they're much more sophisticated now than they were when I was a student, actually.
That's it, City.
Right, thank you. With limited budget, I believe that online learning is still possible if we explore on open source options and also leveraging on technology that we have. I think there's a lot of rooms when it comes to technology. Thank you.
Don, you're on.
It's me. Oh, well, I think I'm going to end on that the comment that was made earlier about other options besides online. I think one of the things the pandemic has revealed is that the digital divide is much bigger than we ever thought it was. And it extends beyond developing countries, including in the developed countries. I know teachers who had 3 kids of their own to take care of, and they were teaching other kids online during all of this. That's a lot of personal technology to have in your house to do this. And so I think the young woman earlier who made that point makes a really valuable point. And that is, once again, it goes back to the student, doesn't it? We can design it and look really good, but if the student doesn't have the technology, we have typically focused on the developing world, and that's appropriate. But I think we need to recognize that for this to work, both sides have to be able to play. And if you don't have the technology, you can't do that. You can't engage that. So I think that's really an important part. Finally, I think leadership is just as important, if not important in this, than technology. I think that's the message I would send. Thanks.
Thank you. There are so much more that we can discuss, and but our time's up here, and I hope you have enjoyed today's Apply HE Fireside Chat. We can't quite physically put our hands together for our incredible panel members, Dawn, Datusiti, Mary, and Darryl, and also the Apply HE team behind the scene, and Peter is going to take over soon, and Mandy and also Simon, who is not on the screen, and all of you from all corners of the world. See you next month. And I think I'm going to pass it back to Peter and Mandy.
Thank you. So shall I share the screen now, Peter?
Yeah, go ahead, Mandy. And Winnie will make me host again, hopefully. And then we'll try and slowly bring all of you on via camera if technology allows us. And I'm host. Go ahead, Mandy. Okay. All right, I'll slowly start making some of the attendees members of the panel. I'm going to try, so please bear with us.
Okay, thank you everyone for the very interesting and stimulating discussions. I've learned a great deal and I hope the same is true for all of you. I'd like to express my deep appreciation to our speakers for their time and contribution, and also thank you, our great participants, for joining this second session of the Applied AG's Fireside Chat in such large numbers. I'd like to thank also our main sponsor, Universitas Hasanuddin, for their valuable support, and Education Insight for co-hosting this event with us. While this marks the end of Fireside Chat Session 2, we have many more events planned. On the 5th of August at 9 p.m. Singapore time, we will be hosting the episode 2 of Squaring the Circle debate series. There are 6 in total till the end of the year. So the next SVD, that's Squaring the Circle debate, is scheduled on the 5th of August with the motion, online learning will never replace face-to-face learning and teaching. The session 1, episode 2 is co-hosted by the City University of Hong Kong and sponsored by Universitas Airlangga of Indonesia. The debate will be moderated by Dr. Kevin Downing from the City University of Hong Kong, and the passionate proposers are Professor Judith Lemmy, Managing Director from JL Education Consultants Limited from the UK, and Professor Dr. Vinish Piruchelvam, Deputy Vice Chancellor from Asia Pacific University in Malaysia. The awesome opposers are Professor Moritz van Rooyen. He's Director from the University of Applied Sciences Europe, also known as UE from Germany, and Professor Mansour Ahmad El Ali. He's the President from Ahlia University, Bahrain. A very great lineup of speakers, and registration is now open for the next SCD, 5th August, 9 p.m. Singapore time. As mentioned, Squaring the Circle debate series are booked all the way to the end of the year, and these are the scheduled dates. Please note that it is held once a month on every first Wednesday at 9 p.m. Singapore time. Do note the dates and put them in your diary, please. And on the 19th of August at 9 p.m. Singapore time, we will be hosting session 3 of the Fireside Chat series. As you've just experienced a Fireside Chat session now, you'll note that it aims to bring a panel of knowledgeable and passionate speakers from around the world on topical issues. This webinar is designed to be cozy, relaxed, engaging, and at the same time, serious, fun, provocative, thought-provoking, and blue sky. Session 3 topic is Inclusiveness on Campus, Policy and Good Practices. Mrs. Winnie Ely, partner of Education Insight from the UK, is again our moderator, and we have 4 very diversified speakers. They are Mrs. Karen Fisher, she's the senior writer from the Chronicle of Higher Education, USA. Professor Pauline Straham, she's the Dean of Students from the Singapore Management University, Singapore. Staff and Student Engagement Officer from the University of the West of England, Bristol. And Mr. Aaron Duck, Senior Marketing and Communications Consultant from Australia. Just like SCD, Fireside Chat is also once a month, but on every 3rd Wednesday of the month at 9 p.m. Singapore time. So be sure to mark the date and time in your diary for the next Fireside Chat, 19 August, 9 p.m. Singapore time. This slide shows you the future dates for our series of Fireside Chat. Just like SCD, there are 6 in total, and it will go on to the end of the year. Registration is now open for session 3, and it is scheduled on the 19th of August. Please look out for our emailers. In the meantime, do check out our Applied AG Extra News website, where you can submit your institution's news and press releases weekly. We will promote you on the global stage at no charge at all. And as you may have heard previously, we have already successfully rated 2 universities, Pearl Academy from New Delhi, India, and Universitas Airlangga from Surabaya, Indonesia. The new rating system emphasizes teaching and learning, graduate skills, employability, and interaction with industry. The rating is also non-prescriptive and can be applied to different types of institutions across different sectors, from full-fledged research universities to specialized institutions such as the Pearl Academy. Institutions from Taiwan, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Germany, and Pakistan are expected to also complete the Applied HE Job Ready rating, and we will be announcing their results as soon as they're rated in our future events. So please drop us a line if you'd like to learn more about the Job Ready ratings and how it can translate affordable strategies, global branding, and marketing. And finally, we invite you to submit information about your institution's online degree programs as we plan to soon launch Applied HE Online Ready, an authoritative information portal about high-quality online degrees around the world. This will enable you to promote your online degree courses in any language and on the global stage. Again, this is at no charge. So please send information of your online course degree to Peter Stack at ps@appliedhe.com. And last but not least, as you know, we are the new kid on the block, and we're very grateful for all the support that we can get, which is why I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge once again all our very supportive webinar partners: City University of Hong Kong, Education Insight, Universitas Airlangga of Indonesia, and Universitas Hasanuddin of Indonesia as well. A big thank you for the valuable support given to Applied HE. All right, thanks very much, everyone. However, the evening is not over yet, so please do not leave the chat room. We want you to experience a networking atmosphere that is as creative and as close as we can get to a physical networking environment. We're going to open the room now so we can all take a Wi-Fi together. You can also use the chat room to chat with one another, have a drink, and pretend you're in the room together. So just use your imagination, okay? Please be sure to turn on your cameras. We'll play some music, relax. The room is all yours. Of course, you're free to leave whenever you want, but we hope you will stay to meet all your friends. Have fun. Okay, I will now hand you over to Peter, who will organize the Wi-Fi. Over to you, Peter.
Yes, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Now if you go to, we see many faces joining. Very good. Yes, if you go to the multiple speakers view, you should be surrounded by people who you haven't quite met yet. And my music should be working as well. So thank you very much for joining us. Feel free to unmute. I think you can unmute yourself and say hello. Just a few small housekeeping announcements. If you want a certificate, email us at info@appliedhe.com. That's the same email address where you got the invitation link and everything. If you want to register for the next webinar, just go to appliedhe.com and then you click webinars and you can see what we have on offer. And you can just register free of charge and join us again. So it's wonderful to see so many people. Yes. Do some people want to introduce themselves? Feel free to just turn on the sound or turn it off. Great. Also, there's people on the second page who have turned on their camera, who've been very brave. All right. Very quiet. So, how did it go, Mandy?
Very good.
What did you think?
Maybe we should toast everybody a drink.
All right, if you have a cup, cheers to another good webinar in the future and good online learning, and may we all have very good internet connections. Yes, this is also fine. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody.
Can it be a week for everyone?
Sorry, yes, we're taking a weekly, so not to worry, All right. Yeah. So any further plans this evening for anybody?
Thank you.
Hi, Sukris. Where are you joining us from?
From Indonesia.
Very good, very good. Apa kabar?
Baik.
Okay.
Yeah, someday we welcome you to Indonesia.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. And of course, if you need to go to bed, I know for Darryl it's very, very late. It's past midnight.
Thanks, Darryl.
Okay.
So don't feel
Yeah, I am from Central Java near Borobudur Temple. Maybe you can visit
beautiful,
Borobudur
beautiful.
Temple.
That's a great place to be.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes, thank you very much for joining us. Stay safe, everybody. Thanks for your question, Mary Jane. I see the internet is good enough for video, so that's very nice to see. And very good point. And who else do I recognize? Yeah, Nestor, of course, who is opened up. Hi, Nestor.
Nestor, unmute yourself.
I'm sorry, I lost my audio for unknown reason. Then I made some, adjustment to my audio. Then I can hear you now.
This is the most important part of the meeting, of course. So very good timing, Nestor.
I supposed to mention a very important point, but sorry. Every time I speak, I lost my audio. I don't know why.
I'm sure one day you'll succeed very well. All right, I noticed many of the people who signed up. So Applied AT, we're mainly focused on higher education, but many people are from like high schools, junior high schools, and so on, which is absolutely wonderful because your students will, of course, be rising into higher education, which is also what we do. So we're really happy to engage with you and that you came for this. And we hope, even though it's about higher ed, it's still relevant for you, even if you're in the secondary ed sector. So thank you very much for that. Okay. Anybody else want to say or comment something? There's Robbie. I think Robbie's question got caught up as well. We're so sorry about this. It's not very lucky with the internet tonight for some of you. I suppose we can just leave it here. Thank you very, very much for joining us, and we hope to see you for the next one. Goodbye, good night, good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and jumpa lagi for the Indonesians.
Tell the piano player he's really good.
Yes, thank you. We'll do that. And yes, we hope you'll join us again soon. Yes, everybody stay safe, stay home, do all the social distancing stuff, and we'll all get through this together. All right,
thank
bye-bye.
you, Peter.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, panelists.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you
the
so
very
much. Thank you from Philippines. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
so much.
Good night.
Informative
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Kamran. Okay, I'll leave it here. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night.
Thank you, Paul. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.